From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazan, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast is Andre Johnson
Jr.
Do not forget the JR at the end of the name. It's very important to remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, share, rate, review. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification for when we drop that fire content. And once again, hello to everyone on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Welcome back to the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. Glad you found us here on our new network here at Gray TV. It is Friday, a beautiful day in this city where we're at, in the city of New Orleans. Hope you're enjoying your Friday as well. It's October. October's a good month, isn't it? It's just a good month. Beautiful weather. It's festival season. Everybody seems to be in a good mood in October. And the Saints inch closer and closer to another game, a very important game, their sixth game of the season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we're going to get into that with our big picture today. But first things first, how you feeling?
I'm doing good. You know, you kind of touched on it. It's just a good time right now. The weather's good. We got LSU playing on Saturday. We got the Saints. We're kind of back on schedule with the Saints as of right now. The Pelicans start playing in a couple weeks. We were talking about Pelicans plans earlier today. You know, there's a lot happening, and it's supposed to get cooler. Now, I use that, you know, cooler.
Air quotes, yes.
You still don't get them hoodies out yet, but it'll be a little
I got mine.
cooler.
Got mine. It's a little chilly inside the office, in the Fox 8 offices here in this building that we're in. But yeah. So, yeah, all good vibes. And then, look, there is a little bit of a good vibe, a little bit of a spark, a little bit of a peaking of interest, let's put it that way, with obviously the Saints. Derek Carr goes down, which is very unfortunate. But they turn to a rookie, a young, exciting rookie who has a ton of fans out there. Obviously, Saints fans, but within the Saints fan base seems to have a lot of believers, he being Spencer Rattler. We talked a lot about it earlier in this week, but we're going to stay there for the big picture, just come at it from a different angle.
Right, and that's the angle we're taking today is going to be, can Spencer Rattler survive behind that makeshift injury-plagued offensive line, and what will be the rookie's first start of his career, Sean?
Yeah, okay, and that's where we wanted to go with this today. We're kind of kicking around topics and just trying to kind of blend everything that's happening here, because you have Spencer Rattler, you have the rookie making his first start, and then you have really two teams ravaged by injuries, but in the Saints' case, in particular, hit pretty hard over the last couple of weeks when it comes to injuries. And so Friday is here. All that's left to do is really just play on Sunday. The game plan is in. The hay is in the barn, as they say, in some world out there. But I just heard that expression before. And as we know, Spencer Rattler, the rookie, is getting his first start, first rookie to start a game for the Saints since Ian Book back in 2021 on Monday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins. Okay.
They lost that game 20-3.
Yeah, it was an ugly game. Really, really ugly game. They had a lot of guys coming in and out. They had a lot of guys missing that week.
Sacked 8 times. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Rattler.
Hopefully not. Different circumstances then. Hopefully better circumstances Sunday. Okay. We spent a lot of time on Wednesday breaking down the decision to go with Rattler over Jake Haener, and some have their reasons. We have other reasons why we felt like they went in a certain direction with the risks that were involved, rewards that could be potentially involved. But then I went back to Saints camp on Thursday, and Clint Kubiak spoke. And maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I'm just searching for a reason that is just a little visible. Maybe because it didn't just come out and they've been fairly generic with, he just gives us the best opportunity to win. That can be defined in a lot of different ways. I think I might have found a clue when we spoke to Clint Kubiak, because I asked him a pretty generic, straightforward question, and it wasn't like it was a controversial answer, but it just piqued my interest. I asked Clint Kubiak how much a run game can help a rookie quarterback in his first career start. He had this to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It can help him a lot. Help them a lot, get the run game going, and that's whether it's a rookie or a veteran. But you know, as you know, as happened last week in KC, if it's not there, you better find a way to change it up real quick and get it going through the air. So a lot of different ways to win a game, and we got to be ready to run it, throw it, do it all. It's just one of those days where, you know, once you get down and you're not running it the way you want to, then you're down a score, down a couple of scores, and the game changes a little bit. The mentality changes, and so you're not able to stick with it as long. So, hey, Kansas City did a great job. Credit to them.
All right, so a fairly generic answer by Clint Kubiak, but maybe I'm reading too much into this, but he said something there at the end that piqued my interest when he said when the run game disappears like it did last week, we got to be ready. So did he just accidentally reveal the main reason why they decided to go with Spencer Rattler and just that fairly generic, straightforward, non-controversial answer? Sounds to me like they're not all that confident, or they know they may not be able to run the football the same way they ran the football in the previous successful games in weeks 1, week 2, and really week 4 when they were able to run the football. And if that aspect is truly gone or is truly ineffective like it was last week, do they believe Spencer Rattler is the one that will give them the best chance if it turns into a game where they have to throw the ball more than they want to throw it? Because in the perfect world, in this Clint Kubiak scheme, look at the 2 best games. They didn't throw the ball a whole lot. They ran the heck out of the ball. So is that the reason why he got the job? I'm starting to think that's where it goes, because everything that had been leading up to this point, it would make no sense. Not make no sense. I don't want to sound like that. It's not like it was a great distance, but they had Haener as the number 2 all season.
Yeah.
They keep saying it was a week-to-week thing, but it wasn't a week-to-week thing. It was Haener 5 straight weeks in a row, and now it's Rattler because is it because of the unique set of circumstances that they might be facing? Now, why would they lack confidence in the run game? Well, Andre Johnson Jr., please read off the official injury report, Saints-Bucks today.
Well, let's start on the offensive line. We're going to go with the guys who are out, and that would be offensive lineman Cesar Ruiz, a big part of this whole equation. Derek Carr, out. Will Harris, the safety, he's out. Pete Werner, the linebacker, he's out. And for the 3rd straight game, we will not see Taysom Hill. The guys who are questionable, that would be Kendre Miller with a hamstring. He has practiced in full, but this would be Kendre Miller's first time back. And Lucas Patrick, who also did not practice all week with a chest injury. So just the guys on the injury report, we know Eric McCoy's out. He's on IR. We know Shane Lemieux's out. He's on IR. Cesar Ruiz will not play in this game. He's out. And Lucas Patrick is questionable, but he hasn't practiced all week.
Okay, so why would they lack confidence in a run game? Well, I think you just had it. I think you just read it right there. The offensive line, of course, they won't have McCoy. They won't have Ruiz. They possibly won't have Patrick. He's questionable, and he didn't practice all week. And I got to be honest with you right now, maybe he can be available, but if he hadn't practiced all week, and we've seen how these lines kind of get a little discombobulated when you're not able to practice all week, because Lucas Patrick didn't practice all week last week, and they were a little disjointed in their approach on Monday night. So the projected 5, if Patrick can't go, would be Fuaga at left tackle, probably Nick Saldiveri at left guard, Connor McGovern, who got here last week at center. They're now a 4th center to play in the game, Landon Young, and Trevor Penning. Remember, Saldiveri was benched last week mid-game due to ineffectiveness against that really, really, really strong Chiefs front with one player in particular. So who are the 2 reserves if that case were, and Patrick can't go? Who would be the 2 reserves in that situation? Ali Udo, Kyle Hergel, and I mean, you can call up Josiah Isarum, the 7th round pick. He's on the practice squad right now. So back to the original question at hand. Can Spencer Rattler survive behind a makeshift offensive line? I believe the Saints know it's going to be tough sledding. It's going to be a tough situation up front. The quarterback, whoever they choose, was not going to be handed the perfect set of circumstances. And I believe they think Rattler has the best chance to survive under tough conditions. And that, my friends, is why I believe Spencer Rattler is starting on Sunday. Maybe it's different with the original 5. Maybe it's different if it's the 5 that we're playing in the Atlanta game. Maybe it's different if it's the original 4 out of 5. Maybe they go with Jake Haener in that scenario. But when only 2 of your opening day starters are back on the offensive line, one of those was considered the weakest link on the offensive line coming into the season, that being Trevor Penning and Taliese Fuaga. And now you have, like I said, Landon Young, a guy that got here a week ago, and Nick Saldiveri, who was benched last week. I guess Aliudo is that far behind. Or maybe he's the guy they go at left guard. Who knows? It sure sounds like to me the Saints are preparing for the worst up front. They may not get the worst. They may play better than expectations, but they're preparing for the worst. And under those conditions, Rattler gives them the best chance to survive and eke out a win against Tampa Bay. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think that is ultimately what it comes down to with Spencer Rattler.
I agree. I mean, Spencer Rattler's legs have to be part of this entire equation. And if you watch the end of the Chiefs game when Jake Haener did come in, Jake Haener was forced out of the pocket at least 4 or 5 times in the few snaps that he did play. And Jake Haener isn't exactly what you would call a mobile quarterback. When it comes to getting out of the pocket, using your legs to pick up yards, keeping your head up, and throwing the ball downfield, I trust Spencer Rattler a little more than I trust Jake Haener in that situation. And maybe that's what the Saints said as well. You know, they kept saying, Dennis Allen on Wednesday, we like Spencer this week.
That's it.
We like Spencer for this matchup.
Yeah.
Like that's what they just kept going back to. So I think it does have a little bit to do with his mobility, looking at how the offensive line is and seeing we may have to get him out of the pocket a little bit, because on top of not having all those guys on the offensive line, there's still no Taysom Hill either. So you're missing
the other
a big
thing.
part.
You're missing another big part of your run game. You don't have your hammer. I mean, he's just the hammer. I mean, and I will say it again, that Kubiak has gravitated to Taysom Hill. The 3 games he had Taysom Hill, he was on it. The 3 games he didn't have Taysom Hill, he was not. You could make the same case for Eric McCoy. Eric McCoy exited very early in that Philadelphia Eagles game. But when he got to practice without Eric McCoy for the Falcons game, the offensive line played fairly well. Taysom Hill might be the key to this whole thing. He's not on IR yet, so maybe that's a good sign he's close to coming back, but obviously he's not close to coming back this week because he has been declared out. So the Saints roll into this. It's not a must-win. It's still too early to use that term, but it's still a very important game because if you lose this game, you fall to 2-4, but also you fall to 1-2 in the division. If you win this game, you get to 3-3. You drop the Bucs to 3-3. You get to 2-1 in the division, and depending on what happens between Atlanta and your Carolina Panthers, maybe there's a 3-way tie at the top of the NFC South lead if you're able to get this victory. So there's a lot of circumstances converging here, but the original topic, the original big picture at hand is that, to me, is ultimately why I believe Spencer Rattler is going this week. I mean, because I'm not crazy here. Like, if you have one guy as the 2 the whole time, and then it's time to turn him to be the 1, and you go to the number 3, like something had to have shifted circumstances-wise, and it's not just, oh, well, he played better in practice, because he had been. If that were the case, he probably would have been playing better in practice pretty much before this week, right?
Right.
Because they decided it on Tuesday. That's what Spencer Rattler said today. They decided it on Tuesday before they even got on the practice field this week.
It's shocking, honestly. Like, Jake Haener, I had people reaching out because the report dropped early. Hey, the Saints could look towards Spencer Rattler, and everyone's texting me, and I'm like, I don't know. Spencer Rattler's been the emergency 3rd quarterback all season. I really don't see him coming in, but, you know, he's in, and he's going to have to work behind that offensive line. But even bigger than the offensive line for Spencer Rattler, the offensive line needs to be there for the running backs, because that's what really is going to help Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
You look in week 2 when the Saints played the Cowboys. Derek Carr didn't have a single pass where he held the ball over 4 seconds. That was the first time that's been done in a long time, and that's because the Saints ran the ball for 190 yards against Dallas. If you can run the ball, then that opens up many more things for the quarterback. This Clint Kubiak offense, which is based off the Shanahan tree offense, is all built around running the ball. If you can have success on the ground, your quarterback's going to have a good day. If you can't have success on the ground, it's going to look like it did on Monday in Kansas City, and you're not going to have a lot of success in the passing game either.
And it doesn't look like the same offense. It doesn't look like did not look like a Kubiak offense at all. Just even not just because they weren't effective, because the things they were doing, that he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that in games, but they were kind of forced to do that based off the circumstances that they were given and the fact they could not run the ball in the slightest bit, and they fell behind early in a hostile environment, and we know how those things go.
Right.
As for this game, though, they're back home. They play the Bucs. And both teams are dealing with some adverse situations. We just talked about Spencer Rattler, a rookie. And look, as much as you love Spencer Rattler and we all want to see him succeed, it is still a rookie making his first start. So you don't really, that's a major wild card in a game like this. Plus, you're coming off of a short week. Tampa, as you know, as you alluded to in the last pod, they're coming off of a situation where we know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But they've been in New Orleans for like a week, and they played the previous Thursday, so it's been a long time since they've played, and a lot has happened between then and now. I mean, their entire family is all uprooted and moved for the week to New Orleans. Hopefully, a lot of those guys, because it sounded like the damage could have been a lot worse, and they were spared for the most part. But they're dealing with their issues, and I'm going to read off their injury report. Their starting center, Graham Barton, is out. Christian Izien is out, cornerback. Trey Palmer is out. You guys know him. Cameron Johnson, ankle wide receiver, is out. Jalen McMillan, another wide receiver, is questionable. Rashad White, their running back, is doubtful. That's huge. Jordan Whitehead, their safety, questionable. Antoine Winfield, questionable. Ernest Brown, D lineman, out. Kalijah Cansey and Luke Gadeke, the tackle, is questionable. But they all practice all week, so I'm going to say they probably are going to play. Winfield was a limited participant today, but Whitehead was full participant today, so I'm going to say those guys are available. But the point of this, Saints have 5 guys out. The Bucs have 5 guys out, plus a key guy as doubtful. And 5 other guys that are questionable. So both teams are dealing with injuries, but their starting quarterback is not out, and the Saints starting quarterback is out.
Yeah, and that's going to make all the difference. And even with their starting running back being potentially out, he's doubtful, and Rashad White. Bucky Irving, the number 2 over there, Bucky Irving has been balling this year. He has started to eat into Rashad White's snap count, because in the snaps that Bucky Irving had been playing, he's been more effective than Rashad White. So even having Bucky Irving coming in, this might be a Bucky Irving coming out party. Yeah. So you really got to be wary of their run game on top of Baker Mayfield, who I said it last podcast, early in the season, if you're talking about early season MVP candidates, Baker Mayfield's got to at least be in that conversation, along with the likes of, didn't think I'd be saying this, Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels, the rookie. So I think both teams, with the new running back, Tampa, I think, will look to get him the ball early. And the Saints, I think it comes down to their running backs, Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, and Jamal Williams. And I highlighted him last week because I thought he was coming back last week when the Saints said, hey, Kendre Miller's back at practice. I thought last week would be his comeback game. It was not. He practiced in full all week this week. He's questionable. Hopefully we can see Kendre Miller on the field because, like I keep saying, Alvin Kamara, who is about to turn 30 years old, is touching the ball far too much. I understand you got to give it to him. You're short on weapons, and he's your best one, but somebody's got to be there to take 5 to 10 touches off his plate, and that's what you drafted Kendre Miller in the 3rd round to do.
And I hate doing this. I cover these guys. I don't want to beat up on anybody, but someone also needs to be there to take 5 snaps or 5 touches away from Jamal Williams. Like I'm sorry, it's not there anymore. Like the kickoff return, back-to-back weeks where he screwed that up. He's just not the same player with the ball in his hand. And then a couple times he had some space to run, and it could have been bigger yardage, and it wasn't. At some point, someone needs to take over RB2 outside of Jamal Williams. Hopefully it's Kendre Miller, but he just seems to have his head in the clouds. Hopefully he's focused and ready to go. He was on the practice field, weren't able to see him. Last week, maybe like people just kind of brushed it off. Like maybe they just he wasn't ready yet. But I'm like, well, he practiced most of the week or was limited and then was full, didn't have an injury designation, and all of a sudden he was doubtful on Saturday. Then they sent him the message saying he was out before the official inactives came out. Or I guess that would have been Monday because last week was Sunday, Monday. So hopefully Kendre Miller is a guy that's finally ready to get on the field and perform because they absolutely need it. And here's something else that I think the Saints need. Similar to the Falcons game, They need a non-offensive touchdown or a non-offensive big play that sets up a very easy touchdown, like a big interception return, a big fumble return, a special teams block punt. I'd love a pick six or a kickoff return, but something that just helps them score points that doesn't require a lot of, like, you get a free one basically because the offense didn't have to work quite as hard to score the points because someone else did the hard work for you. That would be fantastic in a game like this. I remember the first game against when Teddy Bridgewater started back in 19. We were up in Seattle all week that week because we were on the West Coast, back-to-back West Coast games. What happened in that game? Deontay, back then he was Deontay Harris, had a kickoff or punt return for a touchdown. And I think there was a scoop and score, either a pick six in that game. I got to go back and check. It was another big defensive play that set up another touchdown, if not scored. And that took so much pressure off the Saints offense. And right when Teddy Bridgewater, and Teddy Bridgewater's a guy that started a lot of games, and even he kind of needed that to get settled in. So you can imagine a rookie making his first start, how much something like that would absolutely help both him and obviously the Saints' chances of winning.
Yeah, if the Saints win this game, and I'm not ruling it out because who knows, maybe Spencer Rattler goes out there and throws for 403 touchdowns. But I don't think if the Saints win this game, it's going to be because Spencer Rattler went out there and won it for him. I think he's going to need a lot of support. This is a rookie, and this isn't the guy you drafted 4 overall. This is a guy who was a 5th-round rookie. Most 5th-round rookie quarterbacks are not expected to play in year 1, let alone about a month into their professional careers from a regular season standpoint. So he's going to need that support. He's going to need the defense to give him some short fields. He's going to need those takeaways that the Saints were doing to Bryce Young in week 1 that made that offense so successful. And obviously Baker Mayfield's a lot better than Bryce Young, but that's the kind of energy that you're going to need in a dome that's going to be rocking, that wants to see Spencer Rattler play. A lot of the fan base is really behind this young quarterback, and you're going to need explosive plays in the running game, and that's where Kendre Miller comes in. You know, we mentioned him taking touches off of Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams' plates. The Saints' running game has been good when it's good, but how many explosive plays have we really seen?
Give me a big run like I saw last night on Thursday Night Football with the guy that closed the game out for the 49ers. It was like, it wasn't a touchdown, but it was like a 70-yard run. Give me something like that.
Yeah, I think the Saints only had 4 runs all last season that were over 20 yards. Only 4. One of them, I believe, was from Rashid Shaheed. There was another one from Taysom. I think Kendre had one of them. None of them were from Alvin Kamara. I don't remember a 20-yard rush this season from Alvin Kamara. Obviously, he had the big screen pass in Dallas, but there haven't been a lot of explosive plays. And one thing Kendre Miller has shown in the short amount of time he has played, he can make those big plays. It was a preseason game in Los Angeles against the Chargers. He made a diving catch down the sideline from Jameis Winston for a big catch. It was in New England against the Patriots. He had a swing pass that he turned into 30-something yards. Another one against Chicago. He had a big run against Atlanta. Kendre Miller can be that explosiveness in the running game that you've been lacking. And when you've got a rookie under center who's going to need a lot of support, that's the kind of plays that you're going to be looking for.
I mean, what we're saying here is help the kid out.
Yeah.
Help him out. I hate calling those young players kids, but he's 23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
He played a lot of football in high school, a lot in high school, and obviously
He's
a lot in college
baby.
as well.
He's not even a 90s baby.
Yeah. So I go back to even like Brock Purdy has developed into a franchise quarterback. You wouldn't have never known that when they got him Mr. Irrelevant. But his first couple games when he jumped in, I guess was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They were A, it was this offense. B, he was very efficient to start. It wasn't like he was they didn't expect him to be an explosive franchise guy then. They just wanted to see what they had. And I'm wondering if that's the same approach with Spencer Rattler. It's efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. And if the play goes chaotic and you got to run around, do what you know how to do. But I think that's ultimately the plan of attack for the Saints. In a game, look, let's just be real. It's going to be very difficult for the Saints to win this game.
Yeah. And to help him do that, we'll get to some of the questions.
All right, let's do that.
We'll get to one question. And the first question is a guy who can help him win this game and make life a lot easier on him. This question from Lakeside Louie from, quote, Kenna, bruh.
Yes.
Why do you think Chris Olave is not getting the ball thrown to him more?
Okay, let me pull up his stats because that's an anomaly from last week. I mean, he's got, let's see, Saints.
Yeah,
stats.
last week it wasn't very much.
It was
but the
four
2
targets, 2 receptions. But that's gonna that's the life of a receiver. Sometimes you get a lot of targets. Sometimes the coverage is going your way. That's the life of wide receiver 1, who he is.
Yeah. With not
in a way, it's a
necessarily
respect
lot of guys to take targets away from
him. And I didn't see, like, I saw one miss from Carr to Olave against the Falcons. I didn't see, none jumped out in terms of Carr to Olave. Okay, he's 22 receptions. He's second on the team in receiving yards behind Shaheed. Kamara's actually got the most amount of receptions because there's a lot of screens and checkdowns. He's got 22 catches through 5 games?
Yeah.
So he's averaging 4.5. Let's call it that. I don't think that's an issue. I think that's going to be an ebb and a flow thing. I think sometimes that's just kind of the way a game can kind of play itself out. If there's a play out there where he should have gotten the ball and didn't, where he was not covered and Carr missed him, point it out to me, please, because nothing really jumps out from that game. Again, from the Atlanta game, there were 1 or 2, but from that game, I didn't really see one.
And I think as we kind of wind down here, I think what people really want is to just include him in the game plan in a way that he always does so that it doesn't ebb and flow. Like DK Metcalf, his last few games, 11 targets, 7, 12, 8, 14. A guy like a true wide receiver 1, you game plan because you have to get the ball in his hands. It's no, he just wasn't there today. The Cowboys aren't saying, CeeDee Lamb just wasn't there today. We tried. They are going to get CeeDee Lamb his 8 to 10 targets because he's that dynamic of a player, and I think that's what people want out of the Saints and Chris Olave.
We'll see what happens on Sunday. A new quarterback in, at least for 1 week. That's Spencer Rattler. We'll see Olave's numbers, Shaheed numbers, and then we'll see everyone's numbers. For Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazan. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.